I have transcripts from the city council meetings. They knew about this years ago. Like, this isn't something that just came up. They knew that these people were coming because they had organizations paid millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to find housing for them.
Hold on, are you talking about the illegal immigrants?
Yeah, I'm talking about the illegals. They didn't just show up here, right? I have transcripts. They have developed this thing for years that they knew they were coming here. But, and now they're trying to privatize the public housing because they want to put them in these houses.
We're now up to over 127,000 migrants. So 127,000 migrants is a big number.
It is a big number.
So he has to find a place to put them, and he has to find ways to pay for it. What is he supposed to do? He's not getting any help from the federal government. He says he has to cut between 5 and 15%. Is he right?
No, I don't believe the mayor is right about that. And what should he do? One, he should not prioritize welfare hotels for the asylum seekers who have come. A night in a welfare hotel is $383. A night living in a permanent home with a voucher is $72. A night living in a permanent home with a voucher is $72.
They're paying $4,000, $5,000 a night for these migrants to stay at the hotels, to stay at the shelters. They can't afford it. The city's going bankrupt. It's 20% of the city's budget. So they want to put them in these public housing.
Talk to me about the infrastructure that was already being in place with these migrants coming.
So what I have is transcripts from a city council meeting, a committee on contracts. And what they knew already in the past is they knew they were coming here. They were looking for places to put them. They had the Hotel Association got a huge contract from Mayor Adams because they're renting full occupancy at these hotels. So they knew that they were coming years ago. And
how many years ago? Is this a COVID thing, a pre-COVID thing? How long ago did they know that?
Well, from the transcripts that I have where they were talking about it is from March. So if they already had contracts in place, if they already were looking for it, then they must have known it at least last year. So they were scrambling because we're a sanctuary city, but let's not forget that City Council, I believe, is the one that made this a sanctuary city. So they want these people to come in here because honestly, it's all about work authorization. It's about votes. At the end of the day, they want these people here to vote.
They're still coming by the busloads, nearly 500 just yesterday. Asylum seekers arriving in New York City in need of services.
That's 500 people, an entire hotel, an entire shelter.
Mayor Adams warning the city is facing $4.3 billion in asylum seeker costs through 2024.
The federal government isn't helping the city with the migrant issue, so it's coming straight from the city's budget, which is about $100 billion. They're paying about 20%, $20 billion. That's why there's a 15% cut for the police, the firemen, all the social services. The EBT's been cut, the SIS has been cut, but also the retirees, all their medical insurance has been cut also. Now, when the illegals come here, they get Emblem Health. They get top of the line, best medication that there is, and the city's paying for that.
State and federal aid will cover just under 40% of our costs, leaving New Yorkers to pay the rest.
We're here at Pomonok with Alexia Cruz, right? And she's a NYCHA resident. And you're very aware of what's going on. So explain to us, for those who don't know what's happening here.
NYCHA is going to be turning over to the private developers, which is going to be turned from Section 9, which is a security that we have, and they protect the low-income people. See, I've lived all my life in NYCHA. But I worked, and I wasn't getting paid enough, and I couldn't go to college because I couldn't afford it. And I need my apartment. I pay my rent. I'm a retiree. They're not backing up the poor people. They're taking all our funds and giving them away because we're here first. We're taxpayers. We pay our taxes, and we've been living here for a long time. They should go through the process of legally becoming an American citizen. And it's no good that somebody just comes out of the woodwork and then takes everything away from you, you know.
From the Empire State Building to residential high-rises, structures more than 25,000 square feet could be fined millions of dollars a year. City legislation passed today requires them to reduce emissions 40% by the year 2030 and 80% by the year 2050. So now they could have to make green upgrades like new windows, new insulation, or new roofing.
When they see that, oh, you don't have an electric stove, or oh, hey, you don't have an electric heater. Okay, well, then they're going to start fining the buildings. And then who do you think is going to pay? Once it's privatized, it's just going to add more bureaucracy. And it's based on market rate rent, which none of these papers even say because it would scare them. You know, 30% of $1,000 is $300, right? 30% of $4,000 is $1,200. So they don't understand they're going to be paying more rent. They're going to be paying more and they're going to have to pay their utilities. And then once they have these inspections and they find out that all of these things are messed up, they're going to use the money off the backs of the poor people to fix up these buildings. But since they're not going to be getting the Section 8 anyways, because they're going to give it to the illegals, because the illegals, it's going to be 8 times cheaper to house the illegals in these public housing than to pay and have them in the shelters and in the hotels.
An analysis we did shows it could save the city as much as $730 million.
Former Council Speaker Christine Quinn's nonprofit Win runs a network of shelters. The cost savings it found in its analysis is something the current speaker says was a result of looking at the bigger picture.
It's far more cost effective to have someone in permanent housing than to continue in this expensive way that we're going in ongoing emergency shelter.
I don't know if they're looking at the same economics that I'm looking at, adding an additional of, $13, $14 billion on our budget, if not higher. It's just something that was not logical.
It's actually open, so it's a little cooler in here. But this is one of the nicer buildings. You can imagine going to the city. This is basically what we're doing.
So this is interesting. Definitely falling apart.
If you walk down, the hallway here, you'll see that, and this is, like I said, this is Queen. This is the nicer one. Everything's falling apart. They got the paint, they got the plaster, but the maintenance guys aren't responsible for doing all of this. This is supposed to be
Who is responsible for doing construction?
Right, this is construction, but the federal government is who's paying for all of this. So because it's in such disarray, and because the federal government is spending all that money sending it overseas, so I'm here to just give them the information. They can do with it what they wish, but I'm just trying to get them to understand what's going on in their community.
Now, let's talk about this money. The government doesn't have money. Where is the money going?
There's no construction division of NYCHA that can come and do renovations. So it's been 30, 40 years, 50, 60 years people have been living here, and it's a mess. But the government doesn't have any more money, so they're trying to figure out ways to bring privatized ownership to these apartments. And a lot of these apartments and the assistance is based on market rate rent. So whereas the rent is like $1,500 now, plus or minus if you wanted to come and live here, but once they start privatizing it, once they start fixing it up, the rent is going to go up to $3,000, $4,000. So that 30% that you're supposed to pay, your rent is going to double, and they don't pay utilities. So the amount of money that they're going to be paying if they convert to Section 8 is going to be double or triple of what they're paying now. But that's not really what the real issue is that they're paying $4,000, $5,000 a night for these migrants to stay at the hotels, to stay at the shelters. They can't afford it. The city's going bankrupt. It's 20% of the city's budget. So they want to put them in these public housing.
No one should be coming in here just to be coming in here. That's one. And then how are you going to kick us out of our own development when we've been here for so long, and then we have to go back to the shelter? I'm 56 years old, so at the end of the day, where am I going? And if I go back to the shelter, then I have to do what the legal should be doing. They shouldn't have no rights to just come up into our development and think that it's okay and they live free.
Let me ask you something. Did you vote for your city councilman? A lot of people aren't voting.
I don't vote because they put in people that they want to put in. I don't vote because the same system is going to be the same system. And then you have older people telling us what we should do and what we should not do, how we should live and how we should not live. Where are we going? Because then if we leave this neighborhood to go into another development, then what we going? Then we might have to do the same thing all over again.
There's an agenda, right? Like,
Yes.
why are they doing this? That's what you have to ask yourself.
Right, exactly.
What is it that they're trying to do? And what they want us is they want us to be socialists. They want us to be, when you go shopping, you got to use your phone and scan to get to the supermarket. They want to give you forced vaccinations. You know that these illegals, they get the best medicine, right? They get Emblem Health Plus, all that stuff, the best medication. When you or anybody else that needs some assistance or needs medicine, you can't get it.
It's time.
The one thing I'm never going to do is I'm never going to take any money under the table from these special interests, from these PACs, because this is about our kids' future. It's not even about our office and winning an election. It's about our future, our children.
Because how can we not give our apartments to our kids? What if our kids have kids? What if our kids have kids? We will need to something to hold on. Unless you hit the lotto and you go someplace else, but then that may not even work. All your money may go.